MysteryWire.com, home of the unusual and unknown. From Area 51 to the paranormal, it's your source to the most vetted UFO stories and special investigations in the world. Take a journey into the universe of MysteryWire.com.
All right. Joining me now, Cheryl Costa, UFO researcher, author, journalist, veteran even. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We had a chance to talk a few months ago, and at that point, we were just entering into the shutdown with COVID-19. And at that point, we were wondering if we had started to see an uptick in UFO sightings. Turns out at that time, we really possibly hadn't. But now, a few months later, we're into the summer. Has it become the summer of sightings?
Well, it has been. Here's how it went out. The first quarter, January, February, March, we saw really good numbers, and they were like a 7-year high. Since 2014, it's been 7 years, and we've only had numbers in the first quarter equivalent to 2014, which was a peak year, okay, 7 years ago. And there seems to be this little cycle, 5 or 6, 7-year cycle of these things going up and going down, okay? Now, March was ticking upwards, and that was the early part of the shutdown. April was through the roof. We were running with numbers in March in the 400s or something like that. We had it in April, and it went up to like 1,000 something. Okay, just a little over 1,000, which is impressive. So we thought, well, maybe it's going to stay up there. But they started opening up things. Okay, in May, and boom. It went down. It was lower than the earlier part of the year, and we were quite surprised to see that. But June and July have come back up a bit, and it's starting to level out numbers that are comparable to January, February, March.
And do you see
April,
that as...
April was through the roof.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see that as just as a symptom, you might say, of the shutdown? More people are outside and looking up, or
Well, yeah.
Or do you get the sense, like a trend, that something else is happening?
No. There are 4 drivers for UFO sightings. Population, which is the obvious one. Temperate weather, warmer climates have more. In fact, you see that if you're in a northern state, in the wintertime, it's a very quiescent amount of sightings. But you get onto a middle southern state, it's a little higher. You get onto a southern state, it's very much higher, and it's level all year long. But it's population, temperate weather, leisure time, and hours of darkness. So during the shutdown, a lot of people were out there on their back decks. Of course, the dog walkers and smokers are out there, no matter what. And normally what you would have is you'd have people coming outside doing work. I saw something while we were loading a truck or something, or we were outside for a smoke during second or third shift at work or something like that. That's the off time, hours of darkness stuff you would see. But because of the lockdown, people had nothing better to do rather than eat and watch streaming TV. There's only so much streaming TV you can watch, so they went out on their decks and things like that, and it shows in the sightings.
Now, when we're talking about these sightings and these numbers, these are not small numbers. You know, it's not just 1 or 2 people saying they saw something. You've been collecting data for going on 19 to 20 years. What does it show at this point? What's the bigger picture on sightings right now?
Okay, well, you mean right this minute, or over the
no like from about 2001 on?
Okay, 2001 to 2018. Phoenix was the #1 city. Okay, with over 1,100 recorded sightings in Phoenix, and of course they've been a hot ticket ever since the 1997 Phoenix Lights. Okay, New York City, of course, is a big ticket item. They were up in the 900s. Las Vegas was 867. Seattle pumped up there. It was almost 700, 679. Los Angeles, the city, I make a distinction there, city versus county. The city was 661. Chicago, 645. Portland, Oregon, 613. San Diego, California, 584. Tucson, 582. our favorite town of Houston, Texas, 5:45, and in Denver, Colorado, was ringing in at 5:08. So those are some pretty impressive numbers for the top 10 states during that 18-year period. Now, that 18-year period a total of 146,801.
Wow. And where are these numbers? Is there a central collection agency, you might say?
Yes, there's two national reporting agencies. One is the MUFON organization, Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, and there's the National UFO Reporting Center, NUFORC as we call it. They tend to be about 60% of the data, and MUFON tends to be about 40. It's a 60-40 ratio. Sometimes it's a 70-30, and there's a couple of states where MUFON is dominant, but basically it's about a 60-40 ratio. So I can usually extrapolate a model based on whatever I'm seeing in NUFORC. I can get a pretty good idea, and my model's usually within 10%. So.
Okay. And within, let's just say the last, well, let's just go 5-6 months even, but definitely over this summer, a lot's changed as far as, what people know or have heard about UFOs, or as the new term might be, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, which is what the government appears to be calling it now. So
my phone's been ringing off the hook, trust me.
Yeah. We've definitely seen an uptick in people wanting to tell their stories to Mystery Wire too. So over this past time period, as far as states are seeing,
Okay.
who's got the uptick this year?
Okay, well, it's following almost the normal national trend. Your top three players typically are California, Florida, Texas. In that order, it's been that way for about 10 years. Okay, flat out. But even with just this January to July measurement, it was California about 400, a little over 400, Florida about 250, Washington State moved up into that third slot. And in the past, before about 2010, Washington was a major player in that top three. Okay, Washington came in at 222. Texas 193, Pennsylvania 173, New York 157, Oregon 156, Ohio, another big player, 153, Colorado 148, and Arizona 144. There's your top 10.
And were you able to break that down into the top cities as well?
Yeah,
At least
but
population
okay,
areas?
here's the glitch. The states rang up from a total standpoint very, very predictably. Cities, no, it didn't. I was very surprised when I cranked the cities this morning for you. Okay, Portland, Oregon is number one this January to end of July 2020.
Okay.
Portland clocked in with 27 sightings. Remember, we're only measuring about, I got to make sure something clear. The average daily sightings in the United States is only somewhere between about 5 to 20, about 5 to 10 typically, okay? Except maybe during a busy period during the summer and early fall months, okay? So about 5 to 10 sightings nationally on a day-to-day basis. Some states have one every day. Some states have one every other day. Some states only have one a week. Okay, so you need to kind of weigh this. So Portland, Oregon rang in with 27. Boise, Idaho rang in with 25. Las Vegas rang in there with 24. Grand Junction, Nevada had 22. Mount Vernon, Colorado had 22. And Phoenix had 21.
All right.
Who knew?
Yeah, and especially with Portland on the long-term scale, they were sitting at number 7, but in the short term,
there's something else going on though. A lot of people up in Portland are out in the streets right now.
a lot of people.
Okay, again, it's being some kind of activity that's got you out. If it's social unrest, well, it's still got you outside.
Yeah.
So who knew?
Yeah, you got to take all the variables into it. That's right. Now, are you seeing with the reports that you're looking at, whether in the short term or long term, are you seeing a type of UFO report or any trends emerging? The big national news has been the New York Times story talking about the Tic Tacs, the gimbal, that type of UFO, UAP. But, UFO, UAP can be anything, just something that we don't know what it is. So are you seeing any kind of trends?
Actually, the trend seems to be, within the last 6 months, about the same thing we typically see in the yearly data, okay, up until now. Spheres dominating it, the flying saucer shaped type things, cigar shape, that type of thing, triangles for sure, triangles, boomerangs, and that's about it. I haven't even seen a category in the databases for a Tic Tac or I heard one Navy pilot call it a butane tank, so, it's not even a category. So I think people are either averaging it out to the exotic category or they're calling it into the small rectangles or something like that. And, when you think of it like a butane tank outside of your country farm tank, that's a pretty good example. But the actual shapes are pretty much holding out the stock and trade what you see on a normal year. I wish I had some numbers for you, but I didn't have time to break that down for you.
That's all right. That's all right.
Usually it takes me weeks to break these numbers down from the raw data. So doing this in the last 6 or 7 hours was quite a feat. Trust me.
Well, we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate that. And are you seeing, given again, go back to the New York Times story or stories from the past couple of months, we have seen a huge uptick in sort of your traditional media covering UFOs, UAPs. Are you getting a sense of that?
I've been getting phone calls. There's a funny thing going on there. The people I reach out to say, "Go away, kid, you bother us. We don't want to hear about those UFOs, On the other hand, you turn around, you get a phone call from some major paper, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, or somebody you don't expect to hear from. But there's been a lot of interest, and between me and several other journalists who write on this topic, we've been talking, and yeah, we've all been getting an increase in calls, and as we're looking down at the election. A lot of us are hoping for a Biden win, and because it will probably lead to congressional talks. And a lot of congressmen and senators have been positioning themselves. They've been getting I heard one report, one congressman say, "Oh yeah, I had the classified Navy briefing." So they're all kind of positioning themselves for something like congressional talks next year. And that would be a breath of fresh air. Plus, there was a story back there in the middle of the lockdown where the Pentagon announced it's the Navy intelligence that's managing it. Before, we never knew who was doing it. Okay, now we know, and they're going to give us reports every 6 months of some sort. And more or less, they confirmed the December 16, 2017 story that the New York Times and Politico did. So that was rather refreshing. I had a brief conversation with Ralph Blumenthal, who was one of the reporters there for that, and he says, "Yeah, they confirmed our story." So that's a nice thing for a reporter to have a confirmation like that. I think the lid's going to blow off this thing real soon, and it's going to be the flavor of the week for a while. It really is, because look how many years they've been telling us, no such thing, And suddenly, in my case, as one person put it to me, he says, "Well, you guys are now no longer tinfoil. Tinfoil's the new black," So
Hey, that's I'm going to steal that from you.
You would not believe how many people who used to just treat me like I was totally crazy or call me up. "I apologize, Cheryl. I didn't know they were real." So
yeah.
It's been kind of fun in that regard.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that going around, which is okay. Which is all right. Times change. Well, Cheryl, thank you very much for taking a few minutes out of your day. I know you're busy, and look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
A lot of times, anytime someone